All right, we're back again. We're working on the second half of our blocks assignments. We've got our table and chair blocks and everything else. If we go to layers, you notice we've got an awful lot of layers in here we don't really need. If we go to insert, we've got a lot of blocks in here that we don't need by accident because I accidentally brought in that other file that had a whole bunch of default blocks in it. The good news is they take up a lot of room and we can get rid of them. So purge is a command. There's actually a purge command or way to purge drawings in SketchUp as well. They use the same terminology. We could go through one at a time to get rid of them. Make sure this is checked and just hit purge all. What a purged orphan data is, we'll talk about that in a second. Purge all items. The way purge works, if we didn't do it that way, let's go ahead and erase these and you'll actually see this. Here, we'll just do it as a group. If I did purge now, since the last time we did things, there's a block called table 2. Well, wait a minute. There's also the block table and the block chair. Why is it not listing those? Those are what's called a nested block. Let's uncheck this. If I was to purge right now, it'd get rid of the table 2. But then it's going to show that table and chair are now blocks that need purging. By selecting this automatically purge thing and hitting purge all, we only have to do this step once. Oops, I forgot to turn the nested items back on. Otherwise, I have to do it twice like this. So if you have your purge nested items, you only have to do that one time. So do have the nested items selected. Now, you'll notice if I go to layers, I don't have all those layers anymore. What we're going to do now is going to use WBLOCK to make some plumbing blocks and start creating your own library. So we can go ahead and erase this, just erase. Let's go ahead and insert that sink we did in assignment 7. So insert, not assignment 4, assignment 7. And just put it somewhere, it doesn't matter for right now. Book. And don't worry about rotating it. We're going to have to rotate here in a minute, but I want y'all to use the rotate command. And then let's explode it. All right. So now we've got this. What we want, oops, let me get the other one back. Where'd it go? What we want to do now is rotate this because we want a point 4 inches off of this against the wall to be our insert point, but we really want that to be at the bottom. So we'll start by rotating. Rotate our objects. Doesn't matter where you rotate around at this point, so we just want it turned over. Let's go ahead on the ZNP1 layer. Let's go ahead and draw a line down 4 inches. And we kind of want that in the future, so that's a good line to have. So we'll keep that. Don't really need this one, so you can delete it if you want to. Won't hurt anything. It's on the non-plot layer. And now we're ready to make our block. So, but this time we'll use WBLOCK because we're going to make this out to our directory. Find a place out on your flash drive, on your hard drive, where you want to put it, where you're going to put your AutoCAD blocks. Here, I'll put it in my AutoCAD block directory, and we'll call it sync. And we need to get a base point, so we'll pick this endpoint here, and then don't forget to pick your objects. And you can just hit convert to block. And because I'm drawing on the non-plot layer, it immediately made it on the non-plot layer. So let's highlight this and we'll put it back on 0. Doesn't matter. But that's how there is to it. Now we're going to make these other objects. Let's look at those real quick. Okay, we've got this lavatory. It's got a little bit of a radius out here. Oh, that's going to be interesting. How do we do that? But let's start by drawing some lines. You notice I haven't told you what the radiuses on these corners are. Same thing with the toilet. That's typical. We get something that's a drawing from, manufacturer. Now, let's face it, it really doesn't matter what these are. No one's going to measure a toilet block and ever, oh, no, but that toilet top's got to have a 1-inch radius on it. Now, pick a radius that you think looks about right. We don't have to agonize over stuff like that. This is a purchased item. So if you're ever going nuts trying to get, everything right on a purchased item, you're wasting the company's time. You need to just get enough that reads right. Like in this case, we know that there's 1'6" by 1'9" wide. That's the really important thing. So we'll start with that. So don't draw more than you need to. 1'9", 1'6". Oops, what did I type? 1.6. Yeah, it's that kind of day for me. Rectangle. 1'9", 1'6". And let's go ahead and we really should be working on the 0 layer, so let's make it current. I really like the older versions of AutoCAD because it always had this hot. It was always on your toolbar. It was really handy. But anyway, back to that. You'll notice we've got 3-inch offsets, 4.5-inch offset here, but these three are off. So we can do the same thing like we did here. Offset 3. We'll have to stretch this up. It's 4.5 inches. So stretch. Remember, stretch has to be with a crossing window. We need to go up 1.5 inches. Make sure your ortho's on 1.5 inches. All right. Now we can start putting in some radiuses that look about right. Don't put the radius here because we're going to come and replace this line in a minute. So let's go ahead and explode this because we're going to replace this line. So we'll delete that for now. Now, at this point, actually, we probably should have put, instead of doing that, let's go undo. Let's put it on the non-plot layer. That way we can have it as a reference in a minute, because we're going to have to draw an 8-foot radius between these two sides, and we're going to have to figure out how to do that. And so the easiest thing to do, I mean, there's a couple. We use the arc command. You can do circle a number of different ways, but let's start with that part since we're talking about it. Let's draw a line down 8 feet. That is the center of that arc. So let's just draw a circle that's 8 feet. Well, at this point, we can just hit trim. Aha! So trim, pick our objects, get rid of the bits we don't want. Yay, joys and yellings. Delete this. Could probably delete this at this point. And then just pick a radius. Let's try that 1-inch radius. So fillet, radius 1. Pick our things. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And like I said, for this kind of stuff, yeah, that looks pretty good is a good answer. So we'll start fillet again. And this time remember the polyline option. And we're good. We don't have a location of exactly where this is. We know how big they are. We don't know where it actually goes. So we'll just go circle. Sorry, I'm going to use my CR for circle. C. It's a 1-inch radius. We'll just do circle again. A 3/4 inch radius. And now we'll move them. Yeah, let's say 1 inch up. Oop, that wasn't far enough. Move. Let's go another inch. That looks pretty good. If we have a dimension for this, great. We may not with manufacturers. So just the idea is to get something that looks pretty damn good. We don't need to put the dimensions on for our purposes. That's just, for y'all to draw it. So at this point, we're ready to make a file called lavatory. And that is not a tory for lava. Lavatories are wall-mounted sinks. The big ceramic thing, that's called a lavatory. A sink actually sits into a countertop. That's kind of the difference. But WBLOCK, the base point's going to be this point right here. See, it says right there. We select our objects. It's going into AutoCAD Block's new block. We want that to be called lavatory. Lavatory. And it looks like we've done everything right, so we hit OK. And now we've got a block. Yay! You'll do the same thing with the toilet. Let's start with the toilet over here. Rectangle. We'll start with the 2 foot wide by 10 foot high back, so 24,10. Let's go ahead and put the fillets on there since we can. It's polyline, grab it. Now for this ellipse, because that's what we're going to be using here, is an ellipse. We know it starts 2 inches up and then goes 1 foot 10. So we'll draw a line temporarily that's 2 inches up. Now go up another 1 foot 10. And now we have our lines that we can snap to when we draw ellipse. So go to your draw and find ellipse. You've got two options: center, which we could pick middle of this line, or axis endpoints, doesn't matter. As far as axis endpoints, you pick that point, this point, and now it's going to ask you for the width, which we happen to know it's 8 inches, so we type 8. And now we can delete these things. This toilet block is a very good example of we're not drawing what's really there. You'll notice there's no handle. Heck, this part's not even connected to this part. And that's fine. This is a graphic symbol to put on a floor plan. That does not need to be 100% accurate. This is fine. It works just perfect. So now we do our WBLOCK again. WB is the shortcut. We'll call it toilet. Base point, we want the middle of this here. Select objects and OK. Now we've just got the tub left. So rectangle. Well, this thing's 2'3" wide, so 2'3", comma, and it's 4'8", so 4'8". Let's go ahead and draw a little line down 2 inches because we're going to need that in a minute. We can actually put that on the non-plot layer. Oops. Now we got to put our radiuses in. Well, these are pretty easy. Probably like, what, 3? So fillet, radius 3. Let's see what that looks like. That's not too bad. Like 2 would have been probably just as good. And then there's this one. Well, there's some sneaky things you can do here. You could figure out, well, that would be half of that is 1 foot 1.5, 13.5. So fillet radius 13.5. So that works. We could have exploded the block and drawn a circle and trimmed it all out. That would have worked fine too. Let's do that. So explode. We'll move this line down. 2'3", half of that again is the 13.5. Is that right? Did I just do that right? And circle. And then we can hit trim. Use that as our cutting edge. Get rid of the bottom of this. Get rid of these. Then delete that. There's a million ways to go about this. Is there a better way? Maybe. Is there a bad way? Maybe. But in the end, get it drawn. And, so you're fine. If we really wanted this to be all one item like it was as a rectangle, remember there's that pedit command. And it's going to ask you, do you want to turn it into one? Yes, I do. And we can join these together, J. If for some reason you really wanted to do this and have it back as a polyline, now it's a polyline. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. Occasionally you might really need to do something like this, but yes, don't forget that pedit does exist. And now the only thing left is to use our W block. The base point is down here into that line. We need to call it tub. And go pick our objects. Whee! And okie doke. And that's all there is to it. If I go to insert now, those exist in the drawing, but now they're actually wherever I put them. Come on, show me my block references. My documents. Well, it's here somewhere. Documents, architectural block, AutoCAD blocks, and I scroll down here. Look, there's toilet, tub, sink, and where's lavatory? Lavatory. So it really saves them out to where you tell them to save them. That's about it for this one. See what you can do. Have fun with it. Bye.